So this is the video for 6.2. Let me just go back one slide. There we go. This is for multiplying polynomials by a monomial. So this is the one really where our thought process should be numbers first, letters second, alphabetical order. And when we say that, we mean we're going to multiply the numbers first, we're going to multiply the variables second, and if they have the same base, then we're going to add the exponents together, and we're going to do that for each of the letters in turn. So as we're doing this question, the numbers first, and you can tell this is multiplication because there's nothing in the middle here. So in algebra, when two things are next to each other, that means multiply. So 12 times 7, just use your calculator if you're not sure, 84. But notice how that gets rid of two answers straight away, so that's really good. And as my x's both have the same base, or they're the same letter, I can just add the exponents together. So 5 add 3 is 8, and therefore it would be this answer here. Now, I want to show you the wrong answers just so we can see kind of where that came from. 15, they're hoping that you do 5 times 3 because you're multiplying, but that's not the rule for exponents. And they're hoping also that you overemphasize the adding. Oh, I remember Mr. Bagshaw said add. 12 add 7 is 19, and then pick one of these answers. Remember what we said is if they have the same exponent. If we have exponents, that's when we're adding. So 12 times 7 is just your regular 12 times 7 question. This one here, we've got a few extra things, but certainly numbers first. 4 times 5 is 20, and that will get rid of a couple of answers straight away. And then for our letters, very tempting here with no exponent here and a 4, just to think that it's 4. Remember when there's no exponent though, you've got to put a little 1 in there. So a is a to the 1. So 1 add 4 is actually 5. Same with this b over here. This is a 1. 3 add 1 gives me 4. And for the C's, if necessary, you can put a little 1 there. 1 plus 1 is 2. But notice how I did my numbers first, and then I did my letters second, but I did them in alphabetical order as I went through. And that would be this answer here. Question 7. The formula for the area of a square is given there. And we've got some formula here to help work this out. So squared means that we multiply something by itself. So in other words, s was the side length, which is what we see here, and then we've got to times it by itself. So same rule. We're just going to do like we did on those last two questions, just no parentheses written here, but you could add parentheses if that helps you. But it's the same question. So 8 times 8 is 64, and I actually already have my answer chosen because it's the only one that starts with 64. So even without understanding exponents, we can sometimes still answer questions perfectly well. Add the exponents. 6 add 6 is 12, and 5 add 5 is 10 for the y, and that would give us that answer there. Question 8. This time we're onto a triangle. Slightly different formula this time. Base times height, and then we're going to do a half of that. So 8, the base would be this, and the height would be this. So we're multiplying those together first, and then doing a half of that. So 4 times 8 is 32. G times g squared, as I'm multiplying, I add the exponents. So 1 add 2 is 3. And very tempting to want to pick this answer here, except we've not finished yet. We now have to do 1/2 of that answer. So 1/2, of course, means you divide by 2, and then work out what this is. 32 divided by 2 is 16. So actually, that's the correct answer for this question. You will always be given the formula, but you might not be given the picture. So you could easily be given the question for 7 as the formula for the area of a square with side length 8x to the 6, y to the 5. If the formula is a equals s squared, find the area. So it might be one way you just need to draw a little picture to help you. And you could have this for a triangle. A triangle has base 8g squared and height 4g. Find the area. And you might just have to create yourself a little picture. But you will be given this formula because they actually appear on the SOL formula sheet. 8. Oops, this is where the questions get a little out of sequence. So I'm going to go to question 10. Question 9 is actually from the third section. So this was from the last homework that we had, where we just distribute through for each term. We do this term times this term times this term, and then this term times this term. And the idea of numbers first, letters second is going to be good enough for us to get the answer pretty quick. 3 times 5, 15. And I already know the answer to this question straight away. This is the only one that actually has a 15 right at the start of the answer. So I already know that it's going to be, well, on mine it's answer choice B, but it might be different on yours. Let's just check to make sure, though, why that's true. So we would then add the exponents here, because they have the same base. So 2 add 2 is 4, just to confirm why that is the right answer. Now, as I multiply these two, 3 times 6 is 18. M squared times M, I'm going to put a little exponent in there of 1. 2 add 1 is 3. And as I do the last part for this question, 3m squared times negative 12. Numbers first, 3 times negative 12 is negative 36. And then, as it says m squared, I'm going to put m squared at the end. And hopefully you can see that is indeed that answer. But you don't need to do everything to work out that answer. Question 11, I think, is the most difficult one on this test, on this section of the test, because we have a distributive rule question, but then we have another set of parentheses. So we have another distributive rule question at the end here. So we kind of just have to break it down into separate questions. So we'll focus on this one first, going left to right. So 4 times a squared, numbers first, letters second. 4 times by this term here, so 4 times 5 is 20. And as there's an A there, I'm going to put an A in my answer. Now, I'm kind of running out of space, and I'm going to put the next ones actually underneath here. But if I had more space, I could certainly write them to the side. Now, actually, I don't want to distribute the A. I actually want to distribute negative A here. So negative A times A, well, certainly there's a negative sign there. And A times A, I know, is A squared. 1 plus 1 is 2, or just knowing that squared means you multiply something by itself. As I do negative A times negative 7, the two negatives make a positive, and A times 7, numbers first, letters second, and then we can figure out what those parts are there. So we kind of split the question into two, but now we're going to combine terms. So look how many A squareds we have. 4A squared, take away 1A squared is 3A squared, and none of the other answers have that, so I already know the answer. But just to confirm on the last part here, 20 add 7 is definitely 27A, so we can confirm that's the answer. Just be careful on only working out the first term for this answer, because you could easily pick the wrong answer. So that's sometimes why you'd want to finish a question just to make sure. Keep an eye out for this one. I think this is the more difficult one, so just realize it's a question where you can just break it into two separate parts. And that concludes the video actually for 6.2. There will be another video for 6.3 if you want help on that section as well.